Explain the following. The importance of the Truman Doctrine of 1947 for escalating tensions between the USA and the USSR. 8 marks. The importance of the arms race for intensifying the Cold War. 8 marks. This is the mark scheme for this question, which you can find out about in more detail in the overview video. 8 marks here are awarded for AO2, which is your analysis of consequence and significance. So that requires you to take the first element of the question and think about what is important about it in relation to the second element of the question. Making those links between the two different elements of the question is how you are analytical and how you score highly for AO2. 8 marks are also awarded for AO1, which is your knowledge and understanding of the topic. So you need to be bringing in evidence from your own knowledge to support your argument for this question. These are the bands for this question. Again, you can find out about these in more detail in the overview video. But generally, to do well in this question, you need to be analytical. And that really comes down to making clear links between the importance of the first event on the second event, so the two different elements of the question. You should also have a clear line of argument so the examiner can see really clearly what you're trying to get across. Your structure should also be quite easy to follow, so try not to go off on too many tangents. Keep it as relevant and focused as you can. Also on AO1, you should be bringing in relevant details from your own knowledge to support what you're trying to say, so using that evidence from your existing understanding, really just to demonstrate to the examiner that you know what you're talking about. There are lots of different points you could have made for this question, so as long as what you say is relevant and correct, the examiner will give you the marks. But let's take a look at some examples of points that you could have made. So for the first question, you could talk about how the Truman Doctrine was really important for dividing the superpowers on ideological grounds. So for the USA, from their perspective, it made them into the defenders of freedom and democracy, and the USSR into the expansionist enemy, and also sort of consolidated their division on ideological grounds. And that was really important for the escalating tensions in the early stages of the Cold War. Hopefully there you can see we've given a point, but we've been really careful to use our own logic to make sure we've established a link between the two elements of the question, so the Truman Doctrine and the escalating tensions, and explain why they're important to each other. Let's take a look at the second question. So another example could be that the Soviets developed an atomic bomb in 1949, which meant that there was now actually nuclear parity between the USA and the USSR. They both had atomic weapons. So the Americans now were no longer in a superior diplomatic position, and that meant that we now had two nuclear superpowers, and that therefore intensified the Cold War and the tensions and so on. So again, you can see we've got a really nicely developed point which shows that we've thought carefully about the importance of the arms race, specifically for intensifying the Cold War. Really nicely focused and shows a really good understanding of the topic. Take a look though at the rest of the points here to see if there's anything you could have added to your answer.